Welcome into Steelers Latest, your daily spot for all news and information related to your Pittsburgh Steelers. And remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all our content as draft is quickly approaching and there will be uploads daily for you. But let's start this show off with Omar Khan. He was in press conference, I think today, talking about his plan for the quarterback situation for the Steelers. He is our GM, if you don't know that. You should know that if you're here watching the Steelers videos. But he wants to have four QBs going into training camp. He said, "I assure you, we'll have four when we get to Latrobe." Now, right now, we only have two with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Not the two best options for sure. Maybe Mason is our starting quarterback next year. That's always a possibility. But what does it look like adding two more players? How does that look? There's two methods to this, I think, that are possible to happen. Either we're going to add a vet like Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz. This guy's less of a vet, but he has some experience playing in the league. Anthony Richardson, you could trade for. So there's two trade options, and there's two free agent options out there right now that have all had rumors besides Wentz. Haven't heard much about Wentz, honestly. But the three, Kirk, Rodgers, and Anthony Richardson, all have had rumors about coming to the Steelers. So that's possibility there with the vet. The other option is just drafting two rookies in the draft. While I like the option of adding a vet and a rookie, being that's a better duo to me because then you can have your rookie learn under a veteran presence. But the rookies that I'd be that have had a lot of talk going around them as of recent for the Steelers are Sanders, Milrow, and Dart. Now, I have two clear options there that I personally favor. I favor Sanders and Milrow more. I think they offer up more. They have a higher ceiling than Jackson Dart does. The other person I'd like to add in there, though, is Will Howard. If you sign a vet, you can go into the later rounds and draft someone like Milrow and Howard. Do believe those two would be the best for sitting a year. Even Jackson Dart, you could sit him for a year, see if he develops behind a veteran quarterback. But with those first round guys like Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders, it's less likely that's going to happen. Even though a couple years back when we did draft Kenny Pickett, we did have him on the bench for the first couple weeks of the season. And then he got in there and started winning games for us. But that is how I kind of see things playing out here for the Steelers. It's either going to be two rookie quarterbacks getting drafted in the draft, which I don't think that's going to happen. We have too many holes to fill right now to waste two picks. Not waste two picks on quarterbacks, but I think one gets the job done, especially if you could get one of those first round guys. But even those later round guys, if you signed a good veteran fit, those two could develop really well behind a veteran presence. But let's talk about Shedeur Sanders a little bit more because the more he talks, the more it sounds like he wants to be a Steeler, honestly. Because he appeared on The Rush with Max Crosby, and he talked about his favorite connections in the NFL so far. Now, all the favorite connections he did list were players from teams rumored around drafting him, which are the Giants, the Saints, and the Steelers. In the order he listed the Saints players first, then the Giants, and then the Steelers. Take that with what you mean. Maybe it's first is his best option. He wants to go to the Saints the most, maybe. Or maybe you save the best for last. Some people are like that. Some people save their favorite flavor Skittle for last for a reason. But so he could be interested in the Steelers, maybe. I think he really does. He really is interested in us because he later on in that podcast went on to say, I like George Pickens and DK Metcalf. So whatever that means for who is listening, for me listening, that means you want to be a Steeler and let's get you in town. Now, it does rely heavily on him sliding down the board, but there have been rumors over the past month of the Shedeur slide. Now, are those just rumors? Do the Giants take him at 3? I don't think they do. I think they're taking Abdul Carter. But does he make it past the Saints then? Hopefully they take Dart. I think Dart, they like him a little bit more. And then that leaves Sanders on the board, and he just has to make it to 21 for the Steelers to draft him. Tomlin also lofted a lot of praise onto Sanders in his press conference. He said the toughness and competitive spirit of Sanders don't really get talked about enough. And he also added that just the tape of Shedeur Sanders really just hops off the film to him, and he's very impressed by that. But the toughness, once again, I've been saying it, he didn't have a great offensive line in college with Colorado, one of the worst offensive lines, maybe. But he was able to make things happen behind that offensive line anyway. Sometimes he wasn't even able to throw into his passes, he was just getting hit and throwing it up there. Now, hopefully, with a NFL level offensive line, you don't need him to do all that. But it really is interesting seeing the connection between Sanders and Tomlin continue to build, or just them talk about each other so much like this. Not so much, but you know what I mean. They're just talking high praises about each other. It seems like it might be a good connection to have those two in the same building together. Hopefully, it can happen for us Steelers fans. But let's move on to who's going to be sharing the backfield with our quarterback next year. It seems like Jalen Warren will be RB1 next year as of right now. He just signed a 1 year restricted deal. What does a restricted deal mean? Let me break that down for you. So the deal's worth 5.35 mil, but another team can offer him a contract, and then the Steelers would have to match that. If they didn't match that, we'd lose our second round pick, which we traded away anyways. So is that a bad loss? Not really. But most likely the Steelers are going to grab another running back in this draft. Also, I've been saying this for a little bit. I caught hate in the comments last week about saying this, but Jalen Warren shouldn't be our running back one. 6 fumbles in 3 seasons. That is a fumble issue. The average NFL running back averages around 2 fumbles a season, either a little less or a little bit more, depends on the percentages. But those are starting running backs. Jalen Warren has yet to start a game in his career. He's never been marked as the starter for any of his 48 games in his 3 year career. He's had 6 fumbles in his 120, 140 touch seasons. So that's a fumble problem. You can't be putting the ball on the ground that much. Also, you get more reps, that's more fumbles. It only is going to elevate if you elevate him in the lineup. That's all I'm trying to say. But it's likely we're going to take a running back. And as I talked about that, let's move into the mock draft where I did see us taking a running back in our first 2 picks. Not with the first one. The first one, 21st, PFF had us taking Kenneth Grant, the Michigan defensive tackle. He has a good build. He has strong, long arms and a strong base underneath of him. That's a good combination as an interior defensive lineman. That means you can knock linemen off balance, and you can absorb slash split double teams with a build like that. He's a solid interior rusher also. Now the issue is he is a little slower. He has a limited tackle range when it comes to plays, but he fills the defensive line need up front. We struggled in the run game at the end of last year. We need someone to come in and be a day one starter. And Kenneth Grant seems like he could be a solid fit, and he would also be learning underneath Cam Hayward and next to Cam Hayward all season long. Cam Hayward, I think he's basically a player's coach at this point in his career. I mean, he still has production on the field, but the production off the field is also going to be one of the more positive things Cam Hayward brings to this team just because he is that locker room leader. And with our 83rd pick, it had us taking RJ Harvey, the UCF running back. He had good, solid production his last 2 seasons in college. He was a strong runner that wears down opponents. He loves taking on the burden of being that main guy. That's something we need right now. We need that power back. This could be the dude that fills our power back needs. He also has great balance and absorbs contact really well, just bouncing off tacklers all the time. And his ability to bounce from hole to hole is impressive sometimes. Sometimes he meanders a little bit behind the line. But when he does see the hole, when a hole gets filled, he's very good at bouncing it to the next open hole. But his one downfall, as a big back, I'd like to see you be able to block a little bit better on pass plays. He doesn't seem like that's his greatest asset for him, but something that Jalen Warren actually does really well is pick up rushers and throw his body out there to get in front of other rushers. So that's something you don't really need out of the running back you're bringing in, since Jalen Warren does do that really well. So I think this could be a great fit for the team also. There are a couple other running backs I'd be interested in too in the later rounds, but RJ Harvey seems like he'd be able to be a nice dual-headed backfield with Jalen Warren next season. But this has been this episode of Steelers Latest. I've been your host, Cole Dennis, and I will see you tomorrow.